disclosure, stealth, UFO footage, extraterrestrials, humans, prophecy, predictions, pandemics. With Michael Horn, here at the Leak Project. Kick back and enjoy the presentation. Just roll with it. Folks, thank you so much for joining us here at the Leak Project. I'm your host, Rex Bear, and we have a fantastic guest with us tonight. We've got Michael Horn from theyfly.com. Check out theyfly.com. There is a bounty of pictures, articles, information, and we're going to dive deep into Billy Meier on America's coming civil wars and a whole bunch of other prophecies that have been talked about. There is a great DVD available called And Did They Listen? We're going to get into that too. So, Michael, thank you so much for joining us here at the Leak Project. How the heck are you?
I'm fine. I really appreciate the opportunity.
As do I. It's great to speak with you. I know we were talking off the record a little bit before the show, getting into how I have talked to people that said they've done just about everything. And oftentimes I can tell whether that person is being genuine or not. And even if they're not, hey, I'm just going to let them roll with the story because they're going to get out their truth, and people can usually pick it apart pretty well. We've got some real astute listeners on the Leak Project. But I would love to hear your story, Michael.
Okay, well, my story is in this context. I am contractually, if you will, on a voluntary basis. That means for free, but contractually so that I can represent. I am the authorized American media representative for the Billy Meier UFO contacts. And what I tell people when I send out information or seek interviews or whatever is that the Meier contacts are the only scientifically proven, still ongoing contacts between extraterrestrial human beings and a person on Earth. And this has now spanned almost 75 years. That's the opener. Now, anything and everything that I say falls into a couple of categories, and the categories are this. I can either substantiate the claims made, which are made in the case, about its authenticity and scientific verification by directing you to documentation, independent expert analyses, and I can also, with ease, point out to, at this point, over 200 specific, prophetically accurate examples of scientific information published by Meier before, quote-unquote, official discovery. Now, there are some things that I only report on because I'm the media representative that I can't prove, and those largely fall into the area of the far distant past or the as yet unarrived future. And so there are things I simply say, this is the information according to the case. Other things I stand on. So if I say that Billy Meier's case and the man himself are the only scientifically proven UFO contacts, then I can establish that through evidence in a number, 6 different categories and tons of information, etc. So this is not a speculative presentation. I am one of the few people talking in this area who's been invited to make university presentations. I just had 2 within the last year. And my presentations were arranged by a skeptical professor who took 4 months to go through the Meier material and then said, you must present this to my class. So that's a little opener, and there's so many areas that we can discuss that I will, Rex, I definitely leave it to you to, open the door on the questions, and then, we can start dealing with them.
Great. We're looking at right now 2 videos, the wedding cake UFO video, and then scientists astonished at Billy Meier's prophetic, and then there, I didn't get the rest of the title there, but, prophetic accuracy, I'm sorry. Right. So maybe I could hit play on this one here. Is this like one of Billy's first encounters with a UFO, this first video right here, or how old is this one?
His first photographs, everything in this case is pre-internet, pre-computer, pre-Photoshop, pre-digital effects, all before it. I can see the thing here. Now, while we speak, because he has set up his camera, his video camera, about, I'd say, 200 yards approximately from a tree in the distance. And if you'll see in a little bit, because he set up a camera, I think you may be able to see he moved in and out of the frame down to the right briefly.
Yes.
And in a little bit, he's going to zoom across the field with the camera. Standing next to him, also out of frame, is, here we go. Here's the zoom. Now, a lot of people will have some trouble with this, so let me explain. You have just seen a zoom across approximately 600 feet, give or take. That means that the object that is hovering in front of a full-size tree, now we back up, is a large object. These are not miniatures, they're not models, nothing like that. This video is accompanied in the evidence by 64 photographs of Meier's wedding cake UFO, some of which he took within 15 feet of it. Many he took within 40 feet. Now, on my blog, I have more about the wedding cake craft, including some of those photos.
Yeah, let's check that out real quick while we're talking about this.
Okay, scroll up a little bit. Now, right there, go back down a little. Go back down a little. There you see They Fly blog right there. Click on that.
You know, every time I see that They Fly, I think of the film The
Yes.
Fly. That's perfect.
So that's why a lot of people's emails bounce back to them. Scroll down to the search feature, which is coming up a little more, and click on that. Okay, now if you scroll down a little, you're going to see that there's a number of links with it. Even go down farther. Okay, so let's see if we get to, keep going a little more. Oh, wait, you know what? Can you see what you're looking at is good? Right above your cursor, to the right, and yeah, click there. That's a place to start. And scroll down. Meier was within 15 feet of the craft sitting on the ground in front of his home. Oops. Oh, yeah, it would have been nice. I don't know why the WordPress accidentally dumped the photos. I'm going to have to reload them. There we go. And I have somewhere else, I've got some wonderful detail shots. The machining on this thing is really amazing. And there it is on the ground. There may be some more photos in there. Let's see, keep going. There's a photo taken the same day he did the film, the video. So he took out his camera and he took some photos of it at the same time. And there it is blown up a little. Now, if you look here, you see the UFO, then look down on the left side of the tree between the ground and the tree. Yep, go up a little. See that knob right there above your cursor? To the left, that's a pruning mark on the tree.
Okay.
And when Meier's photos were looked at by forestry experts, exactly right where you're circling, they were asked, the forestry experts were said, listen, don't worry about the thing, but tell us, are those miniature or model trees? And everybody said, no, of course not. They're real trees. They're full-size trees. They run, 20 to 40 feet in height. This is a mature tree. You can see the pruning mark. And they talked about what they called nesting, which is right below your cursor, that upper part where those, all that stuff just at the top of the tree. They said, no, people don't make model miniature trees like this with pruning marks and the nesting. They make nice-looking trees. That's a real tree. And what the heck is that thing next to it? So there may be a couple other photos on that page.
You know, what that reminds me of is magnets. It looks like a magnet-type ship.
Well, there's many theories, and I think that what's so wonderful, you can keep going, we're encouraged to think about it and theorize about it. And then I'll be able to show you a rather remarkable photo in another link. But it's,
you know what else? I'm sorry, Michael. I got to say this real quick. I'm also thinking of the Daleks from Doctor Who. We are the Daleks. You know what I'm talking about?
you know what?
Oh, you got to watch that, man. It's classic. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm digressing.
I caught some Doctor Who some years ago. Okay, you see this photograph?
Yes.
I want you to pay very close attention to this photograph. The skeptic said, this is simply a gold model photographed against a black curtain. Okay, look at that. That's some of the detail on that supposed gold model. There are lenses inside of those things that look like Christmas tree ornaments, and those are jeweled lights of some form all around the entire edge of the craft. You're talking about, Billy Meier has one hand. He's not a watchmaker either. So scroll down and see if there's any more details there. Just, this is the funny stuff that when you blow up that photo, that's what you're seeing, all this kind of stuff. Keep going. There might be one more too. Yeah, just these weird little things that nobody notices. The guy was very, very close to this thing, obviously. So now if you want to go back to the search page, and I'll tell you what you're looking at. You're looking at that photograph when somebody had the idea to drop the image right off the internet into Photoshop, drop the brightness, increase the contrast, and it's a real full-size object hovering over a grassy road. Actually, there's a little bit of a gravel next to it. And that post is you see that white thing you just passed, that little stick in the ground. That's typical in the Swiss countryside. They use those along all the highways and roads. Now go down again, you'll see somebody else's enhancement. Two different people. There's gravel road now in the right-hand corner. Yep. So what you're looking at, this is an energy field around it. All that strange stuff with the light is an energy field. Meier photographed that, and for 31 or 32 years, he himself never said a word about it. He left it up to people to do their own technology and figure it out. Now remember, he took this with 35 millimeter film in 1981, 35 years ago, in the middle of the night, and he just put out his photos, and he never said a darn thing about it. And then a guy who was doing independent research on this, who has a 74-page report on the WC UFO photos, and he lists all his protocols and techniques, and basically says these are large objects floating or next to trees. There's no models. There's no hoaxing. You will never interview another person who either claims to represent or be a so-called contactee who will present you with one testable photograph. Meier's taken 1,200 plus. 8 films and a video.
How come he isn't more into the mainstream?
Well, last September he survived the 23rd attempt on his life, and he started to go public as early as 1964. If you want to, go back to my website. This is interesting that you've got the ability to do this online for your listeners and viewers. We just go back to the page we started with theyfly.com, and now I want you to go in the search bar up there on the top, we just saw it, and write in India, I-N-D-I-A, and hit that, and there should be something, that one, click it right there, and you'll want to blow that up, and I'll explain what we're looking at. What you're seeing here, there's Billy Meier when he had 2 arms, still in 1964. He's in Pakistan. He was known as the Phantom in the Middle East, even separately from all this stuff. He led an incredible life. Okay, so scroll down a little bit, and you're going to see a newspaper article. The Statesman, the Flying Saucer Man leaves Delhi. You see the date? September 30th, 1964, right? That's 52 years ago.
How cool is that?
And this paper is still in existence. It was founded in the 1800s. The reporter was an award-winning journalist. It's a totally credible paper, and if you scroll down, it may be a little, people can, go online and read this stuff, but he describes some of the photographs he saw. And there's Billy when he was just known as Edward in 1964. He's like 27 years old there. And
he had a young lad.
Yeah, a young lad. Now go down a little farther, and I'll show you what you're looking at. Keep going. Okay, go up a little bit first. Come here. Notice where it says here, retired UN ambassador. Mm-hmm. This is a woman named Pobal Cheng who was a child at an ashram in India. Her uncle was the head monk, and she personally, along with 100 other people, saw the ships and saw one of the women who came down to talk with Meier, who even interacted with her a little bit, human being. Now, you go down, 1964, he's taking these photographs with a 1940 Kodak Bellows type camera. You'll see shortly. That is one of the craft hovering near the ashram. Special effects, models, impossible. Photographed in the middle of nowhere in India. You can scroll down at your own pleasure. More photos. Another one off to the side. Then there were 8 of the craft, and they were seen more like lights in the sky above the head of a woman. Right there. There's 8 of them. And there in the foreground is a woman. Just at the bottom of the photo to the right. She's right. It's a little hard to see her clearly, but she's there, and she was washing clothes. And the 8 crafts showed up above her head. And Billy photographed it. Then if you keep going down, you're going to see something pretty unusual. It's just some, these are some were very vague, like lights in the sky. Some were the craft. And then you get to this. This is mind-blowing, and I'll tell you what it is and why it's mind-blowing. This is a photograph, as I said, taken with a 1943 camera. What you're looking at kind of in the bottom of the photograph, there's a man sitting on the ground. Yep, that's Billy. Behind him is one of the spires from the ashram, and in the sky above his head is a hologram generated by Asket from her ship of a huge cross over his head. I was there when we took this photo and film. My nose was 1 inch away from it. There's no painting. There was no tape. This is a pure photograph from the 1940s camera taken in 1964. And there's a reason for that photograph that I think is extremely interesting. And it will really bother a lot of people if I explain it. So it's up to you if you want me to or not.
Well, yeah, this is the leak project. Please do.
Okay, good. We're going to leak it. Sitting on the ground is a man named Edward Albert Meier, soon to be called Billy. He is in India. Above his head is a cross, the universally recognized symbol for Christianity. Now, why would this be all connected? Well, because in this case, one of the core elements in the Meier case is a document known as the Talmud Immanuel. And I'll give you the short, hard version of this, and of course there'll be people throwing tomatoes at me. But the real name of the man who was falsely named Jesus Christ in the biblical record was Emmanuel. In the Old Testament, it's spelled, I think, with an E, and in the New Testament with an I, or vice versa. He is mentioned in Isaiah 7:14. He is mentioned in the New Testament in Matthew 1:23. And in both it said, and his name shall be called Emmanuel. Then everything else is Jesus Christ, the term that was created long after his demise. He did not die on the cross. He was crucified. He was tended to by healers who came in from India because this event was known to them and to others that it was going to take place. He was not resurrected. He was revived. And a lot of the things that we have from the New Testament are half-truths. So he survived the crucifixion and went on with his mother and a few disciples. Judas was not the betrayer. He was a truthful scribe. This is all the information according to the case. He went into different countries where he was preaching, and he was also thrown out and threatened, ultimately arriving in India where his mother died. And when he was about 48 years of age, he married an Indian woman and had numerous children. The true writings of his teachings, 70 years after the crucifixion, were brought by a son of his named Joseph and hidden in an ancient, and at that time, of course, abandoned tomb in Jerusalem, where in 1964 they were discovered by Meier and another man, a former Greek Orthodox priest. And then there's how they got translated and all the rest of this. In the early 90s, a professor of comparative religions heard about this document that had by then been translated for the first time into English. And he said, aha, it must be a Bible hoax. I'm going to debunk it. And a year and a half or so later, he came out with a book called Celestial Teachings. And he said, the Talmud Immanuel is the original writing of the prophet of the time. And the book of Matthew is not the original. It's a corrupted version. The Talmud resolves over 350 inconsistencies in the book of Matthew, 125 of which weren't even known to scholars until well after the Talmud was discovered. Now, a new and final translation in English comes out within a few months, and one of the interesting things that will also set people a little upside down is there were 17 female disciples, not a one of whom got mentioned in the Bible, because it was all redacted and revised and cut to pieces by the powers that be. This is one of the central elements in the Meier case. And Meier, the Swiss man, is sitting in India, where Emmanuel went and ultimately died when he was 110. The cross is the symbol for him, and okay, here comes the kicker. Emmanuel was the fifth prophet in a lineage that included Enoch, Elijah, Isaiah, and Jeremiah. The prophet after Emmanuel was a true prophet whose teaching also got badly corrupted. He was named Muhammad. He never married 9-year-old girls or, all this crazy stuff that Islam has turned into. The seventh and final prophet for earth would be a person, an ordinary human being, who would have the same spirit form as the 6 previous prophets. And that's who we're looking at, sitting on the ground in India with a cross above his head. Now, that should bother a lot of people in Texas.
Well, it'll certainly start a comment battle. I can assure you of that. I can't wait to see what the comment section is going to say. But, I find it fascinating, and I'm not a photographic expert. I can't say, well, you can see without a shadow of a doubt because of this shadowing and the lines there that it's legit. But, it looks incredible. I'm looking at it right now, and I can see the spire, like you said, behind the hat.
Right.
That's quite fascinating.
And if you look at the photograph, you can tell that that is not That's a photograph on film, and it was taken in 1964. And here, oh, here's the beauty of it. Go up to that article again. The one written by in the newspaper.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
By Venkatesh.
No.
Yep. And if you can get, is it as large for you as possible? If you look somewhere in, I think in the, good. Scroll down slowly. Stop. Around disk. Do you read this and that? A fourth is a big, bright cross. Now, this is 1964. We don't have computers. We don't have Photoshop. We don't have special effects. He is in the middle of nowhere in India. He didn't build models that he suspended on 200-foot long poles and photograph. This man looked at the photographs. He saw this, and he saw more, but he saw the same photographs that you're looking at were first viewed and written about 52 years ago by a highly credible journalist, and here we have it staring us in the face today.
He says they look like us, and that's why you call them extraterrestrial human beings.
Yes, they are. They're virtually indistinguishable from us. They are human.
Did they come from this planet essentially and leave because they had the technology to, kind of like a secret space program? Or let's get into that. I mean, who are these guys?
Okay, who are these guys? Well, this takes us into history that we really don't have any record of in our own historical, annals anywhere. Of course, these people are descendants of extraterrestrials who are known as Lyran, Lyran, from the constellation Lyra or Lyra, some people pronounce it. And they are fully human. Their heritage goes back millions of years. Their ancestors were radical space-traveling warriors, high-tech, highly developed, and they, over long periods of time, got civilized themselves. Eons ago, their ancestors were among those extraterrestrials who came here and represented themselves as the gods that we formed religions around. In many cases, they did stuff that wasn't good for us. Some of them were very brutal and vengeful and what have you. Some of them were not. But all in all, what some of their ancestors did was set in motion religions that were not based on truth about this universe, but on power-hungry people who represented themselves as the creator of all things. Now, thousands of years later, and over time as well, they've tried to set this record straight because they also knew and prophesied, and we have it all online, that we, in our world, in this new millennium, would be faced with such horrific terrorism and war as major religions came against each other and as powerful nations came against each other, that unless we could wake up and get out of our religious political delusions, we would wipe ourselves right off the face of this planet, and there's nothing they are able to do to interfere with that other than to try, without directly interfering, to put the information into our world so that people like you and me and others can find it and start thinking our way through it and start demanding change and correction before we wipe ourselves out. You can see it, yeah, and one more thing, you can see a headline in the center there. It says, Billy Meier and America's Coming Civil Wars, right? See it right there? So I have a blog about it, which links to a video that I did with Billy just a couple months ago. You can see it in green where it says interview with Billy Meier in May 2006 at the top of that. And the first, yeah. And that goes to my channel, and I just posted that a little while ago. And there it is. Billy speaks about the civil wars. He speaks about the coming elections, and a number of things. And we have another video on there that I did a year ago, and he talks about the danger of the Islamic, radicals. So here again, I asked him about information about Putin, the U.S., the EU, Merkel, etc. And he puts it right out there. Americans in the EU are trying to sabotage Russia. Putin doesn't say much about it. And America and Europe keep saying that Russia wants to attack and make war, but it's nonsense. Because Putin, they have no plans to make war with us. They don't want it.
Real quick, I want to interject. I wonder if it's the religion and politics or the people that control the religion and politics. Now, is there an off-world faction that is manipulating things and causing this mass chaos and global destruction that we see at a horrific level?
No, we have to take responsibility for it ourselves. We are the inhabitants of this planet, and the bulk of those in power, as Meier is just saying here, they are the ones who instigate the hostilities and so forth. And he will go on to tell us in this film that, you know, it's for the weapons industry and everything else. And the average people, as he says, and the minority of the American folk can simply not do anything about it. People have to decide this for themselves, you see, because there's nothing to believe in the Meier case. You get to make up your own mind, and that's why you haven't heard about it before. And I'm speaking to your audience, too. It's been suppressed deliberately by the government, the military, the secret military, the religions, the political and governmental interests, the intelligence agencies, and most brutally, by the UFO community, full of liars and deceivers and profiteers who don't want you to know that this is going on, because then their book sales and their appearances go down the drain because they're lying to you about all of it. And that's why they love me so much for saying things like that.
And there's so many different images out there on UFOs. I've talked to people that I would say are absolutely 100% genuine with incredible footage, and they're not trying to sell books. I've had people on before that have no website, no books, nothing, just giving, you know, housewife giving us her personal experiences that she's had. I know people personally that have had just crazy experiences go down, and stuff that would just freak you out.
It's not extraterrestrial. For instance, if you scroll up, and this is stuff people can research themselves, you're going to see up a little more, a little more. Okay, you see where it says media? Right? Yeah, click on news archives. Right. And then search term would be UFOs. You're going to see there's a lot of articles here, and then I'll tell you which one I'm referring to.
Now, I'm very familiar with MILABS. I've heard of many other theories of interdimensionals, demons, Nephilim, you name it. I've heard just about everything under the sun. Fragments of their imagination, holographic interface, Project Bluebeam. Right. And, you know, maybe there's bits and pieces to all that that's true, but when I see a universe as big as this universe is, and as many planets and solar systems and opportunities available out there, I am certainly not going to say that there are not ETs out there that interact with this planet, but I would say most of the stuff out there could be disinformation or false in some way, shape, or form. I certainly don't know if I know anybody that I agree with 100% of the time, every time. But hey, you know, I mean, I find truth in just about, I find truth in many things. So with that being said, are you telling me that you are just 100% convinced that people that claim to have had contact, legit people, those that aren't writing books, trying to sell a story, you're saying that none of them, there's no way they could be abducted by ETs?
Well, yeah, I'll get to the direct answer. I just found the link under 2007 news archives.
Okay, so we're about 10 years old here. No wonder you couldn't find it at first. Okay,
yeah.
That's a lot of info you got up here.
Now, you'll come to a page where I'll ask you to scroll down a bit to where it says extract from the 441st contact report. It goes back and forth between German and English, unfortunately, for people who just want to get right to the chase. But if you... And again, I'm speaking to viewers and listeners. If you will take the time to read it, you're going to find out that starting like right at the beginning, he says to the guy at that time, 22 years have passed since you told me privately that you had comprehensive cognitions in regard to terrestrial UFOs and the massacre of animals and alleged abductions, which were disguised as the shoddy efforts of extraterrestrials. And the guy says, you know, the time is right for that, with the named group, where it concerns a worldwide branching from governments, the military, industrial groups, secret service, paramilitary, and powerful ones of finance, as you correctly said. The more you read into here, you're going to find out that since the 1920s, there has been disinformation about extraterrestrials. There was technologies being developed as far back as that having to do with electromagnetism and precision electronics, etc., and even some back-engineered beam ships, from crashes, and that these premeditated abductions of Earth humans and all massacre of animals have been and are faked by this group. Now, there is more information in this and in other articles I have here. But if you want to jump around a little bit to make things interesting, you saw, maybe you didn't see, on my homepage, if you want to go back there, on this page, right there where your cursor is, The Truth About Alien Abductions from Military Insider. That guy, his name is Joe, and I met him up here in Flagstaff. He knew nothing about the Meier case. He's a former Army Ranger. He's a former sniper. He worked with a top secret clearance in weapons development. He worked at Dulce and all the rest of this. And I got him to talk about what he knew. First of all, there's no aliens at Dulce. Second of all, he knew how Army Rangers did so-called abductions when they did it. There's a number of different groups that are involved in this. All this stuff. And he laid it right out. So all the people, and I put out a blog today that'll drive people nuts because I just busted this phony alien abduction experiencer thing. These are not extraterrestrials / aliens messing with Aunt Edna or Uncle Joe or you. When there is any real abduction, and 95% of them or more are not, they're mass hysteria and sleep paralysis and psychosis. When there's a real event of an abduction, it's secret military. 90-something% of the stuff you see in the sky is secret military. And what Joe said, right there, this guy Joe, when all these nice people are running around and taking films and seeing UFOs in the sky, what they're doing, and they don't even realize it is, they're doing free independent research for the secret military on how the craft appear, what they look like when they're filmed, how these people were affected by them. It's all feedback for the development of the secret military. But no, in this day and age, everybody thinks that extraterrestrials are involved, as if they have nothing better to do than to come to California, Texas, New York, Ohio, anywhere, and start messing with people. This guy is quite literally a straight shooter. He was a sniper and served in Iraq and in South America and a few other places. And this whole video, he lays out, I ask him questions, he lays out his truth. Nothing to gain by telling it. As a matter of fact, he had a little bit to lose by telling it, but that's another story.
So,
the biggest, yeah, go ahead.
So you're convinced then that every time somebody gets abducted, it's like a MILABS type deal?
Well, first of all, every time would make us think that this is happening all the time. It isn't. Most of it is mass hysteria, bad dreams, sleep paralysis, hallucinations, and this is very easy to understand because for the past 50, 60 years, we've been pummeled with all of this alien this, and evil alien that, television shows, commercials, movies, films, comic books. So it goes in. I mean, people believe all sorts of stuff these days. And when they're a little bored out there, they can't play video games and they're done texting, they decided that they were abducted by aliens. Now, let me give you a premise because I know that this affects people. Here's something to think about. The single most important event and development in human history would be the confirmed existence of extraterrestrial life, exceeded only by proven contact with it. Not a one of these people who make the claims can prove anything extraterrestrial. They are unknowing about technology. They are unknowing about illusions. They are unknowing, but they are bombarded. So when they look at real evidence, which has been suppressed from their view for decades because it's real, they don't even know what to do with it. Oh, he must be hoaxing. No, we have photo analysis spanning over 30 years. I'll have to remount those photos in WordPress. I don't know how they fell out, but they did. But people can, you can blow it up on your desktop. So I am telling you that where's the proof? That would be the biggest story in history, and it is happening. It's been going on for 75 years. The purpose of it has been to help us not destroy ourselves. And what do we get instead? Well, I was out there one day, and now suddenly I couldn't move, and an alien abducted me. Oh, yeah, right. That's what they live for. They travel hundreds of light years through space, or millions perhaps, to come here and to mess with your brain. Really? Why won't people think rationally and realize we are being misled so badly? This fun little field of ufology is one of the most dangerous fields for truth. And if you don't believe it, when you go into Meier's prophecies and you see that he specifically foretold things like this radical Islamist stuff that's going on right now, the Russian military movements. There's an article on the internet just from this weekend. Billy Meier published information from these Pleiadian extraterrestrials telling us that there were, as of the end of January, 17,461 people directly connected with the IS and the Al-Qaeda terror organization who should be described as so-called sleepers. They had been identified and snuck into Europe. Now, all you have to do on your search bar at the top of your browser, which would just put you, search the internet at the wherever it is, in there, search the internet for 15,000 terrorists, France. See what you come up with. Right there, top one. This is just one day ago. See it?
Oh, yeah, Russia Today, right there. French PM warns 15,000 people being radicalized.
And Meier is more right. They are far more now, even than the 17,460. What will it take for people to get away from listening to all these goofy UFO people who, look, I saw a thing in the sky? We're talking about our survival. I'll give you another one. Right where you are, go to the search term to the right and type in the number. When you're ready, type in 1981. 1981. Paris will be destroyed from within. And you scroll down. This from 1958, right there, that's published by Meier in 1958, warning about the radical Islamists that are going to spread terror all over the world. Unless we stop them, and all these people don't want to stop them. They want to just keep on, bombing. And then look, even you can see mass tourism from industrialized countries, blah, 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 blah. Right down here, 1958, impending asylum seeker problem, refugee crime wave. Many people no longer be safe. I mean, this guy's published this stuff decades before it happened. Now, you want to go farther? Go to the search term, and I'll give you another one. Type in the word skepticism, and then the next word is bears, B-E-A-R-S. On my first presentation at the university. Now, here's what I want you to look at. Go down a little bit. Now, you see, stop right where your cursor is. You see what he said there? More on this later, but guess what the first thing I said to Laureen was? That's his wife. When we first heard about the Paris bombings, I knew this one was on its way. Thanks, Professor Antes. Why did he say that? Because I sent him Meier's warnings that they were coming. Now, anybody want to talk to me about lights in the sky at this point and run around and babble about Arcturians and Andromedans and reptilians and all the rest of the utterly imaginary BS garbage? When this is what the real extraterrestrials have been trying to get through to us for decades, while our politics, religion, governments, and military and corporation and media have suppressed it, and there's been 23 attempts on this man's life for his trouble? So you want to ask me if I think it's the only legitimate one? My answer is, go ahead, just show me something else. Give me something with one piece of evidence instead of 26,000 pages, as he has, and 1,200 pieces of photographic evidence, and sound recordings, and metal samples, and 125 eyewitnesses, of which I am one. And that's the least important part. Oh, yeah, there's all sorts of, and there are people that attack Meier, like that guy, and there's a call for action.
Let's go back to what you said. You said somebody attacked him. Was this who you're referring to?
Oh, that's just one of many. He didn't shoot at him. He just had lies on his website, and he's retracted some of them now because I brought it to public attention. And later this week, I will have another blog about him because he's really now in a hard place because he had to take down the lies, but he left one up, which is still there. I mean, gosh, Rex, there is so much stuff here. What interests people here? You see where it says new video on the dangers of asteroid Apophis? Click on that.
Okay.
This is a whole other direction. You have no idea how much different information is in this case. So go down. So this article is all about, new information, a new video that's up about a threat to the planet that NASA finally acknowledged in 2004, but they're saying it's not so dangerous. We have illustrated it. If I can even show you where it is. If you go back to my website, and I'll show you the illustration so that people who like to see visual stuff, if you go back to just the plain old theyfly.com, and you can actually get to that. Yeah, now scroll down, and on the right, see immediately to the right, The Adventures of Billy Meier. I put stuff up click on episode 1. The Plejaren warned Meier in 1981 that this thing is heading towards Earth. In 2004, there's the beginning of the illustration. They tell us where it's going to hit and when it's going to hit, and that our scientists must come together to deflect it. And this is, we've got like, I don't know, 5, 6 pages of illustration on that. So people can actually read some of these contacts illustrated, so they're going to be able to, you know, get a better picture literally. We have an illustrated thing on the BP disaster in here as well. So NASA, which had been diminishing the importance of this, suddenly changed the estimate of the size of this object that Meier wrote about in '81. A few years ago, they changed the size to within 25 meters of what Meier was told. That's 75 feet. They revised their whole estimate. Not because Meier was wrong, but because they were. I can give you so much stuff for 4 hours easily on the scientific evidence in this case that the next time you get someone who wants to come on and talk to you about their contacts with aliens, you might know that you're in for a bunch of nonsense. Even if they believe it, they will have no way to give you one piece of evidence, and I can do it day after day. That one page you said, oh, there's a lot of articles. On my blog, I have over 550 articles. My website, hundreds more. And yeah, nobody knows about it. I don't take outside advertising. I put out the information. It's put out in other countries as well. We try to wake people up, but all the people sucking up the oxygen with their silly UFO alien tales, ooh, aliens. And that means they miss information that could save their lives.
Another thing that you write about, I noticed in one of your articles, let's see if I can find it over here. It said that Planet X is not real. And there's a big movement right now. I've noticed every 4 years it seems to be Nibiru and Planet X are the most popular. I mean, I've seen some compelling evidence. I've seen a lot of lens flare. I certainly am agnostic to the subject, but I have certainly seen the reports and info out there that could make one question the possibility. If it's every 3,600 years or if it's every 600 years. I mean, there's definitely a Planet X. Does that mean that it's the one that's described? There's millions of planets, right? So you can pick one somewhere, but does that mean that it's on an impending orbit to come back and destroy the planet? I don't know.
Well, Meier also, years ago, was given information. In 1958, for the first time, he published information saying that after the new millennium, discovery of 2 planets beyond Pluto will be made. We have that in a published book and all the rest of this stuff. Okay. They describe for him a lot of stuff that is out there, including, you know, very large planets and all the rest of it. That's why he's saying, no, there's no Planet X. They've identified different things already. And if you search, you know, my website, if you search my blog, you're going to find that stuff. You're going to find that they have never been wrong scientifically. Never, not once. And that means that other people have had to, like NASA, have had to change their information. NASA and SETI, MUFON, all these people, they won't acknowledge the Meier case because they all go out of business. Oh gosh, there's some little one-armed Swiss guy living up in the boonies who knows more about everything we do? Good night. You know, that can't be. Oh my gosh, we'd lose our paychecks. Well, yeah, and deservedly so, because they've been sent information for years, all of them. But no, they know better. So you don't get the truth. But you do get a lot of people who are going to tell you that they've been abducted by aliens, and they've gone to Mars, and there's reptilians floating through their walls. And look at this. I mean, this is scientific information. And they say in the next decades, these stars will also be discovered. We've been making those discoveries recently with Hubble. So it goes on and on and on. You can learn more about almost anything from the material in the Meier case. As a matter of fact, there's something, let's see. I had something bolded there about dark matter 1/5. There was recently a new discovery, just recently, about another force of nature. Meier was told in those things long ago, there's 7 forces of nature. We only know about 4 or 5, or whatever it is. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. If you can think of a question, he may have had it answered by them, or he was able to answer it himself.
Does he still contact with them?
Regularly. When I was there in May and I did my film, I sat down with him and we were chatting outside. We were just chatting after I'd interviewed him for a while, and he was telling me about the history of the play iron. Now, if you go back to my blog, I'll tell you what I'm talking about. And he was just, you know, talking about so much stuff from them about what they had gone through. And I said, can you just tell me that? New peace movement. This is something else people don't know anything about. If you scroll up on that a bit, you see that? We call that the peace sign, right? That's the symbol for death. And that's what people have been walking around with for 60, 50, 60 years, thinking that's peace. That is the real peace symbol there. That. It's a tree of life. It's an upward movement. And we're trying to reinitiate because the Pleiadian extraterrestrials and a few thousand people around Earth are doing a peace meditation, which has helped to push back the next world war now for over 20 years. We would have been in it already if there weren't all these people, not only here, but in other worlds, doing this peace meditation. It only takes 20 minutes at a time to do it. So this is the down-to-earth, like, try to help us to not blow ourselves up agenda of real extraterrestrials, not the phony stuff that we just hear and see all over the internet.
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about these beings. I mean, how long do they live?
Sure. Their lifespans will average usually upwards of 900 to 1,500 years. We will eventually regain our natural long lifespans, which were manipulated, but not here on Earth. They were manipulated millions of years ago. That's a whole story. That's in what's called Contact 251 on my website. That'll get your head spinning because you'll see stuff in there that we're not, is now coming to pass that Meier was foretelling long ago. They live a long time. They are anything but perfect. They're not. Let's see if that shows up. Yeah, try that and see if it's links. Oh gosh, health reminders. Do I have it? You know what? It's for sure linked from my blog.
Well, that'll give our listeners something to look for.
Yeah, it's on my website. But my point is this: the information is so vast. Meier long ago wrote about the fact that the speed of light is not constant. And of course, then our scientists find out the speed of light is not constant. Any area you can conceivably think about, you might have a question. It may have already been answered by them. And if it's scientific, you can take their answer to the bank. It will be right no matter what our scientists say, because eventually our scientists will corroborate it, even though they don't know they're corroborating Meier. So we have here something of such magnitude that it's staggering. I was just on that road. You know where you see that UFO there in that picture and that log pile? I was there 3 months ago. Again, I've been on that road many times. And this time I was filming and photographing because I wanted to, again, take some film there. If I ever want to show that it's impossible for him to have hoaxed those photos, I haven't. It really is. There's no way he could have set up anything there because of the nature of the hillside that this is on. So that was taken, I think, in 1975 or 76, that photo. And as I said, he's taken 1,200 plus photos, as close as 15 feet, a couple hundred yards, and everything's clear. It's not a light in the sky. It's not a CGI. I even brought his films to the guys who won the Academy Award for Independence Day, and I showed it, and I said, "Okay, is this a hoax?" No. He would have needed a crane and long suspending wires, and even then, he probably. Yeah, we could do it today maybe with CGI, but when that was taken, no. I have a guy, Michael Malin from NASA. Oh, I don't know. That's really, that's screw you up. Okay, so yeah, I have films and books and stuff too. I just don't usually do my interviews sitting around hawking stuff. I will say this, if anybody wants to order one DVD, let's say, off of my site, if they mention you and your show, I'll send them a second one for free. 2 for 1. That's my pitch. Beyond that, you do what you want. I have so much free information on my website and my blog that your head will spin. As you scroll down that, you're going to see books and CDs and DVDs, and it goes on and on. I've produced or co-produced 6 documentaries on this man.
Yeah, you sounded just like Casey Kasem there for a minute. That was awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I remember him from my growing up days. Hey, get the latest from BillyMeier.com.
Beautiful.
You like that? Good. I probably should have had him while he was alive do the pitch for me.
You do a good enough job anyway, man. You could play him. And yeah, that's right. Folks, use the code Leak Project, so that way, Michael's going to know where they're hearing about him from, and that would be wonderful too. Thank you for offering them an extra opportunity.
And I'll add this to it. I will answer any and all emails, questions, challenges. Please be somewhat polite. You don't have to accept this. You can challenge me, but give me a little time because I actually answer all my email, which takes me a little while. And then people can also, if they don't want to wait for me to do it, come to the blog and just start looking around for something you want to comment on. And there's people that are in and out of my blog all the time. You see this thing on the lower right says Beam Ship Symphony? That's like a 20-something minute recording of the actual sounds, and they were tested in 4 different sound laboratories. They couldn't be duplicated, and that's the craft. And I tell people, you know, kind of jokingly, do not put this in your car, roll down your windows, and crank your stereo and drive through your neighborhood late at night. Because people, it says it right there, it's not recommended to play this late at night from high-powered stereo speakers in automobiles while driving slowly with the windows down through peaceful neighborhoods, because it's eerie stuff. And it was recorded in front of 17 witnesses, including an undercover cop. It's an amazing thing. So, and that's like, I think, only $15 or something. And it's fun because you could really, that, you know, that, I laugh about that because it's so incredible. In Groton, Connecticut, there's the Naval Undersea Labs. And they tested this, and they could not find any sound. They have a sound bank with just about every sound made by anything on Earth. And they said, we can't identify that. We don't have it. We can identify an airplane that flew by at the same time, but we can't identify that sound. And it's because it was way too complex.
That's awesome. You're definitely getting some good data. And I mean, you do have it's like a whole storefront right there. And, you know, as I was telling you before the show also, I think it's great when people that are really into certain topics and genres offer products, because it's that much better. I mean, this is something you're passionate about, and there's nothing at all wrong with offering something for 10, 20, 30, 40 bucks that people want to purchase. It gives them information and allows you to continue to do this kind of research. So
I agree. Thank you, because you see the films that I made, I paid for them myself. I'm not paid by Billy and his group. And I deliberately created our agreement so we wouldn't exchange money and I could remain independent. And this way I've been able to make these films and documentaries, and all of this stuff, and I do it independently. And then people, if they want that, they're free to order it. I don't twist anybody's arm. You know, and I don't, you know, we're this deep into our interview. After an hour, we're talking about my store. So I didn't come on, hey, I'll tell you everything but buy my book or film. No. I love it if you do. It helps me, and it helps get the truth out. But if you, dear listener, dear viewer, want to start perusing all the free stuff, knock yourself out. Send me an email. Join the blog. It's free. F-R-E-E, free. And then if you want this good stuff, good. Buy it. I'll be happy to send it to you, and I'll send you a 2-for-1. Just mention Leak Project. That's also, I know where it came from. So yes, this is what, you know, we're about here. This is what we're doing. And I'm just, you know, hoping to people, it's so important that we get out of the make-believe world of UFOs, the make-believe that is keeping us from the truth. And that could be suicidal for us. So I will speak to anybody about it. If you, for instance, you see where it says corroboration and evidence on the right-hand side underneath my film, click on that, and I'll tell you what's on that page. All right, so don't go to those links yet, but you can see that there's a link to UFO proof and evidence. There's special evidence. There's overviews, there's analyses. But if you scroll down, what you're going to find is one after another, over 150 specific corroborations of Meier's prophetically accurate, primarily scientific and world event-related information. He published it before it happened. That is inescapable. I ran this by a judge in Las Vegas at a MUFON event, and the guy was a skeptic of the Meier case. In 5 minutes, he changed his mind and he bought the films. And I should also tell you, I've been within 20 feet of one of the craft in the mountains of Brazil. Anecdotal, but true. See all this stuff? All the science.
That craft you saw, did it look like the one that was taking a picture?
No. It was a very small monitoring craft. And I show it in one of my films. I think, I show it. I didn't take the photo because it was at night. I didn't have a camera. But there is a photo of 2 of them taken in broad daylight in Switzerland. It's exactly what showed up in Brazil. And I confirmed it with Billy a week later when I went from Brazil to Switzerland and told him what happened. Oh, yeah, a little monitoring craft. They look in on you, you know. It was really cute. Oh, the stuff about the asteroid killed the dinosaurs and all this stuff. Billy scoops everybody on everything. Everything. And our scientists don't want to know. He's the first person to warn specifically, climate change, global warming. It's real. When global warming, then there's extreme global cooling, but now we're in danger of, we've poisoned the seas. We are going to have mega quakes and mega volcanic eruptions. There's so much stuff coming our way because of how we screwed the planet. And now we get to pay for it for the next few hundred years.
Yeah, you certainly do bring a lot of information to the table. And Michael, I got to say, I really appreciate you coming on the show here with us. I would strongly recommend our audience go to theyfly.com, theyflyblog.com. And hey, I really hope we have the opportunity to speak again sometime.
Rex, it is my pleasure, and the fact that you're willing to delve into this kind of stuff, I take my hat off to you, and I will make myself available to do this within relatively short notice. And if your listeners want to contact me, and again, they get the 2-for-1 thing, or if they want to send questions to you or whatever, I'm up for it. This is what I do. This is my purpose. So please utilize whatever I can offer you. You don't have to believe anything. You determine it for yourself.
Right on. And folks, I'd also recommend going to youtube.com/clandestineTimeLord. You'll get access to the latest podcast absolutely free. And if you become a contributing member at eliteproject.com, you will get access to exclusive content. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and be the change you want to see. This is Rex Bear. Good night. Traveling space warriors, Billy Meier, full disclosure, stealth, UFO footage, extraterrestrials, humans, prophecy, predictions, pandemics. With Michael Meier, here at the Leak Project. Kick back and enjoy the presentation. Just roll with it. Folks, thank you so much for joining us here at the Leak Project. I'm your host, Rex Bear, and we have a fantastic guest with us tonight. We've got Michael Horn from theyfly.com. Check out theyfly.com. There is a bounty of pictures, articles, information, and we're going to dive deep into Billy Meier on America's coming civil wars and a whole bunch of other prophecies that have been talked about. There is a great DVD available called And Did They Listen? We're going to get into that too. So, Michael, thank you so much for joining us here at the Leak Project. How the heck are you?
I'm fine. I really appreciate the opportunity.
As do I. It's great to speak with you. I know we were talking off the record a little bit before the show, getting into how I have talked to people that said they've done just about everything. And oftentimes I can tell whether that person is being genuine or not. And even if they're not, hey, I'm just going to let them roll with the story because they're going to get out their truth, and people can usually pick it apart pretty well. We've got some real astute listeners on the Leak Project. But I would love to hear your story, Michael.
Okay, well, my story is in this context. I am contractually, if you will, on a voluntary basis, that means for free, but contractually so that I can represent. I am the authorized American media representative for the Billy Meier UFO contacts. And what I tell people when I send out information or seek interviews or whatever is that the Meier contacts are the only scientifically proven, still ongoing contacts between extraterrestrial human beings and a person on Earth. And this has now spanned almost 75 years. That's the opener. Now, anything and everything that I say falls into a couple of categories, and the categories are this. I can either substantiate the claims made, which are made in the case, about its authenticity and scientific verification by directing you to documentation, independent expert analyses, and I can also, with ease, point out to, at this point, over 200 specific, prophetically accurate examples of scientific information published by Meier before, quote-unquote, official discovery. Now, there are some things that I only report on because I am the media representative that I can't prove, and those largely fall into the area of the far distant past, or the as yet unarrived future. And so there are things I simply say, this is the information according to the case. Other things I stand on. So if I say that Billy Meier's case and the man himself are the only scientifically proven UFO contacts, then I can establish that through evidence in a number, 6 different categories and tons of information, etc. So this is not a speculative presentation. I am one of the few people talking in this area who's been invited to make university presentations. I just had 2 within the last year. And my presentations were arranged by a skeptical professor who took 4 months to go through the Meier material and then said, you must present this to my class. So that's a little opener. And there's so many areas that we can discuss that I would, Rex, I definitely leave it to you to, open the door on the questions, and then, we can start dealing with them.
Great. We're looking at right now 2 videos, the wedding cake UFO video, and then scientists astonished at Billy Meier's prophetic, and then there, I didn't get the rest of the title there, but, prophetic accuracy, I'm sorry.
Right.
So maybe I could hit play on this one here. Is this like one of Billy's first encounters with a UFO, this first video right here, or how old is this one?
His first photographs, everything in this case is pre-internet, pre-computer, pre-Photoshop, pre-digital effects, all before it. I can see the thing here. Now, while we speak, because he has set up his camera, his video camera, about, I'd say, 200 or yards approximately from a tree in the distance. And if you'll see in a little bit, because he set up a camera, I think you may be able to see he moved in and out of the frame down to the right briefly.
Yes.
And in a little bit, he's going to zoom across the field with the camera. Standing next to him, also out of frame, is, here we go. Here's the zoom. Now, a lot of people will have some trouble with this, so let me explain. You have just seen a zoom across approximately 600 feet, give or take. That means that the object that is hovering in front of a full-size tree, now we back up, is a large object. These are not miniatures. They're not models, nothing like that. This video is accompanied in the evidence by 64 photographs of Meier's wedding cake UFO, some of which he took within 15 feet of it. Many he took within 40 feet. Now, on my blog, I have more about the wedding cake craft, including some of those photos.
Yeah, let's check that out real quick while we're talking about this.
Okay, scroll up a little bit. Now, right there, go back down a little. Go back down a little. There you see They Fly blog right there. Click on that.
Every time I see that They Fly, I think of the film The
Yes,
Fly. That's perfect.
That's why a lot of people's emails bounce back to them. Scroll down to the search feature, which is coming up a little more, and click on that. Okay, now, if you scroll down a little, you're going to see that there's a number of links with it. Even go down farther. Okay, so let's see if we get to, keep going a little more. Oh, wait, you know what? Can you see what you're looking at is good? Right above your cursor, to the right, and yeah, click there. That's a place to start. And scroll down. Meier was within 15 feet of the craft sitting on the ground in front of his home. Oops. Oh, yeah, it would have been nice. I don't know why the WordPress accidentally dumped the photos. I'm going to have to reload them. There we go. And I have somewhere else, I've got some wonderful detail shots. The machining on this thing is really amazing. And there it is on the ground. There may be some more photos in there. Let's see, keep going. There's a photo taken the same day he did the film, the video. So he took out his camera and he took some photos of it at the same time. And there it is blown up a little. Now, if you look here, you see the UFO, then look down on the left side of the tree between the ground and the tree. Yep, go up a little. See that knob right there above your cursor? To the left, that's a pruning mark on the tree.
Okay.
And when Meier's photos were looked at by forestry experts, exactly right where you're circling, they were asked, the forestry experts were said, listen, don't worry about the thing, but tell us, are those miniature or model trees? And everybody said, no, of course not. They're real trees. They're full-size trees. They run, 20 to 40 feet in height. This is a mature tree. You can see the pruning mark. And they talked about what they called nesting, which is right below your cursor, that upper part where those, all that stuff just at the top of the tree. They said, no, people don't make model miniature trees like this. with pruning marks and the nesting. They make nice looking trees. That's a real tree. And what the heck is that thing next to it? So there may be a couple other photos on that page.
You know, what that reminds me of is magnets. It looks like a magnet type ship.
Well, there's many theories, and I think that what's so wonderful, you can keep going, we're encouraged to think about it and theorize about it. And then I'll be able to show you a rather remarkable photo in another link. But it's,
you know what else? I'm sorry, Michael. I got to say this real quick. I'm also thinking of the Daleks